So we will be starting in a couple minutes, since it's not time for the actual webinar yet. So yeah. So today we will be having a workshop by Qualm, and they will be teaching you how to build a data visualization app using Python. So I gave the Qualm Zoom account co-host, so whenever you like to start, you may start.
Hi, William. Could you assign co-host to Gerald?
Oh yeah, sure.
Thank you.
He should have it now.
All right.
Hello, everyone. I think it's a little past 3, so I'm hoping we can just start. And welcome to our workshop where you will be learning how to build a very simple data visualization, but I think pretty fun to look at using Qoom, which is a platform that allows you to build web applications. I might give maybe 30 more seconds to let people come in. And if you need to reach out to me, maybe I'll just speak the rules first while we wait. If you need to reach out, please I prefer if you guys just speak out in the Zoom, just verbally, but if you feel more comfortable with using the chat, feel free to chat on the link. I might not be able to see it though. So if I'm not seeing your question, please just speak up if you could. All right, looks like more people are coming in. This is awesome. This is a really cool hackathon you guys are part of. I'm really excited to see what kind of creations you guys all create.
So I can handle omitting people, so you don't need to worry about that.
Oh, okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, I think I waited about 30 seconds. I think we have enough people here. So I'll start officially now. Let me start by just giving you a quick introduction to myself and to Qoom. My name is Jared Lara. I'm a co-founder of Qoom. I've been a software engineer / data scientist for about 15 years of my life. And then about a couple of years ago, Guy, my other partner here, decided to create a company that makes it easier for people to create real projects. What we see for Qoom, really what we're trying to do is build a product that helps people who have already learned how to code, kind of done everything in Code Academy, kind of done everything they did and to learn, but they really want to build something real, something with impact. So we're trying to build a tool that makes it easy for you to build your creations, but get it out there in a way that gets a lot of users and make it easy for you to create such an application. So today we're going to be exploring creating data visualizations using Qoom, and I'm hoping you guys can see how easy it is to quickly get something like a prototype out there and get it in front of people and do some quick learning. So let's start with that. I'm going to share my screen so you can see what I'm looking at. All right. So I have a guide here for this workshop that I've just put together that has a series of links and also has the steps I'm going to be taking for the next hour that you guys can look at if you get behind or you need to review it when you're creating your projects after this class or after this workshop. So I'm going to send you guys all this link on the Zoom chat. And I think Guy could probably send it out to everyone on the Discord. All right, so this here is going to be a guide to help you build something very, very simple, because I don't know what your guys' skill levels are. So I'm just going to assume you guys don't know much. So we're going to build a pretty ugly looking app, but I'm going to give you guys entry points where you can go to learn to make this app better if you wanted to use it as a template. So basically what it does, very simple app. An app in my mind is different than a website in that it's interactive. So this app has this button and has an input box, a place to ask users for input. And when you click the button, it's going to load data from a CSV file. and create a cool 3D plot. And I just grabbed this from this Plotly library that we're going to be using. So it's part of their tutorial on how to use their library, actually, that I just kind of put into this. I'm trying to use libraries and things that have a lot of documentation on the web so that you guys can just use the web as your main resource to hit the ground running. And I'm just kind of show you guys how to use Qoom as like a canvas where you can just start drawing your ideas upon. Kind of like what Jupyter Notebook is, also browser based, but this is a little more less opinionated than Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so there you go. That's what we're going to be building. It also works on the phone. You have these controls. You can zoom in, zoom out, and this is really showing you what clustering looks like. So I don't know if you guys, what kind of data you guys are trying to visualize, but in biology, you're looking at how things are related to each other and how they might cluster. So this might be an interesting plot to load data into so you can see those clusters and glean information from that data set that you might be looking at. So there we go. That's what we're going to be building. All right. So let's start. So I have a short little snippet here. I won't read it out loud, but I just want to give you why you would want to use a web app instead of Jupyter Notebook to do your project. Jupyter Notebook is probably the best tool if you're trying to build something to make impact within a community of engineers or scientists or professionals who understand Jupyter Notebook. It's kind of a great tool to tell a story in a way that data scientists can understand. And I used it in my career. However, if you're trying to build a tool that tell a story about some data that you've collected or you're exploring to other people who are not scientists, they will need a site that's something a little more eye-catching, something a little more interactive to catch them. Otherwise, it might look like just like a scientific article. It might be like too intimidating for them. So to give you guys a sense of what people have done on the web with data visualizations, I have this link here. And I'm hoping this will kind of give you guys some ideas of what you guys could create. So this is from a very popular awards site that awards website and web app designs. And in here, this is all about data. So if I just click on one, click on it again. And these are all using JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. This one's actually using Glitch, which is a tool similar to Qoom. So this one has music in it. And this one looks like more like generative art than data visualization. So maybe this isn't the best one. So maybe that's not a good one. But maybe this map one might be better. So, okay, accept. So it looks like this is like an app that whoa. So you can see what people are listening to around the world. So anyway, it's a fun little place you guys can explore to get some ideas if you wish to go the website route for building your visualization. All right. So that's kind of the why. Sorry, I made you guys jump. I jumped too. The link is inside the chat. So thank you, UN. All right. So in my blog here, I have an iframe of the app so that, you can play with it there too. So let's get started. I don't know if you guys know how to create an account on Qoom or if you guys have done that already, but if you haven't, it's pretty easy. You just go to www.qoom.io and you can just sign up. And you enter your name. So I'm gonna just do this like you guys do. So I'm gonna be Fred Flintstone. You guys don't have to put in your real name or real email. It's just a place to get people who are serious about trying it out, just entering data. So I can put fred@example.com, and I don't care if you put whatever you want there. And you have a little password, so whatever you want there too. And then when you're done signing up, you should have your own URL that you can use to create, not just create, but also to show what you create. So that's the idea of Qoom. You're using a website, a web application to create, as well as to consume. So, all right. So the first thing, if you haven't, maybe I'll give you guys 10 seconds or so to get to here. Let me know, let me know if you have any issues getting to here. Okay, thank you, Isabel, you're there. All right, if you're here, just create a new button here, and we're gonna create a new folder where we're gonna put in all our, where we're gonna put our creations inside of that. So I'm gonna call this data viz. You can call it whatever you want. Great. All right, we have a folder. I'm gonna go in there now. And now the very first thing we need to do is create an HTML page. So I'm gonna create an HTML page. I just go to File. I'm gonna call this app.html. I'm gonna make a very simple app. Great. All right, that should bring me into this editor here. And I'm gonna assume you guys don't know much about HTML. So we're not gonna do too much of HTML, but I hope you get enough to get a sense of how it works. In the guide, where's my guide? Where did my guide go? Oh, I think I know what happened. I kind of went. I need to go back here. Okay. Okay. In my guide, at the bottom, I have a series of references here that you guys can click on. And there's two main sites to really do a lot of learn about HTML, CSS that we're going to be using. W3 schools and the MDN. So I'm going to show you MDN because it's more comprehensive than W3 schools. But if you go in here, you can learn about HTML and get a review of what they are. So what you see here is like a series of elements, and each element here has a start tag and an end tag, and you can think of it like a hamburger, where you have a bun and you have another bun below it, and you want to make like a In-N-Out burger or something. So you want to put something inside the hamburger. Yeah, tasty, right? So you actually have two burgers here. You have a head burger and a body burger. And the body is where, inside of this body is where you put information that the browser will use to show the user something on the screen. So this is kind of where you can just type something in here and go like, hello. And over here, you can see a preview of what you get. So you see hello. Where if I wrote hey in the head, you won't see it because the head tag is where you put instructions to the browser to do things. And we'll get into examples of those. I guess you do see hey, but it depends on the browser. You shouldn't see anything in the head. So what we're going to do is start building out that UI. And once we have a UI, a user interface that we can use for the user to interact with, we can then write our Python code to write the digital data visualization. So we need a place where the user can hit a button, enter a URL of their data set and things like that. So we're going to be using a series of tags here. So usually the first tag you learn is H1 element, which is another little hamburger inside of a hamburger now. And inside the H1, you can put in like what's the title page, the title text of the website. So you can put in like data visualizer. I think that's what I had in my notes. Okay, and then you'll see in big text data visualizer. And then then another one, really useful one, is called the pre-element. So the thing about the pre-element, for example, let me just show you this. If I hit enter here, the browser is going to ignore all this white space and only use one. So I can't like type type what I want to see directly. But in the pre element, I can actually put in some instructions here. I can put things in multiple lines. So it will now obey. When I do one like this, I'll say like enter URL, 2, click button. Okay, and then over here you can see exactly how I typed it. But one annoying thing about this is that it even obeys the indentation. So I don't want it to be way over here. So I'll just have to like move it over. So I don't know how familiar you guys with modern editors, but pretty much any editor, I think Python Notebook, the same thing. You can like select all the rows and then hit Shift Tab, and then you can just move things over to the left and Tab to move things over to the right. So Shift Tab will move it over to the left. Okay. All right. So now in between here, we're going to create an input element where we can ask for data and a button. Okay. And I'm going to put like load here. Now the input element is a special element where there's no button pair. It's just one slice of bread. The reason is because in an input element, you aren't putting information in, the user is. So that's pretty much why there's no bottom button on that one. All right. Now we have a simple UI that we can use to build our tool with. Anyone have any questions? None so far. All right. And I did see a question about the separate files. We'll get into that. We can create separate files. And all right. So the next thing we're going to do is let's just do a little CSS and get so you guys can learn how that language works. CSS is a language used by designers to make websites look really good. So CSS is instructions to the browser on how to actually draw things. So that goes into the head. So here for right now, we're going to enter a style element. And in here, in between these two buttons, we're just going to put in a way to put everything in here, all in the middle of the page. So what we're going to do is style this body element. So I want to style body. So I'm just going to type body. And then curly braces. So similar to like a function in JavaScript, but without the parentheses. Okay. And inside the body, I can just write a list of commands to style things. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the background color, give some color to this thing. Lime green, is that color? Lime green, let's see. Okay, now I have a lime green website. Might be a little too strong. So I'll do light green. And if you know color theory, you can also do like a hashtag, or you can do like RGB here. And then you can put like a red value of 255 for all red, 54, 187. You can do things like this too, to make any color you want. Just combine R, G, and B. That's a pretty bad color, so I'm gonna go back to my light green. I'll just put it here in quotes. Oh, I'm sorry. In quotes in CSS is /*//, just so you guys can see what I wrote there before. RGB. I'll just do something like that so you guys can play with that. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put everything, I'm going to layer this thing because I'm going to keep with my sandwich analogy where I want every element to be a layer, a horizontal layer, like a row in the thing. You can see right away here my input box and my button are next to each other side by side. I don't want that. So I'm going to use something called display flex. And this will allow me to, this unlocks, and you can learn about this in the system, but it unlocks a series of properties. And by default, it doesn't put everything in a row, it puts everything in columns. So I'm going to do flex direction. So you can make tables out of this and all sorts of cool things. Column, no, row. And you can just copy this from the notes if you need to. Align items, center. I'm sorry, flex direction column. Because I want all my items in one column, if that makes sense. That's why it's column. So now my input and my button are below each other. And I aligned everything right in the center. But I also want to put the whole thing in the middle of the page, and that's called justify. Okay. If I do that, okay, it should work. Oh, and then I forgot to put I have to give a height to my body, sorry. So I'm gonna get my height, maybe, I don't know. Let me do 100% of the height of the screen so that it, okay. So now it's kind of in the middle of the page. And I have these ugly scroll bars, so that's because there's a deep margin. So let's get rid of that with the margin. So now there's no scroll bars. And everything's kind of right in the middle. Okay. All right, so now I have, that's how CSS works. And if you want to learn more, there's that link there. We only have an hour, so I can't go too much into it. Next thing we're going to need to do now is pull in libraries, JavaScript libraries, because JavaScript is the language of the browser. The browser understands JavaScript. It doesn't understand Python. So what we're going to need to do is bring in JavaScript libraries that will take Python code and translate it into JavaScript. And we're also going to bring in JavaScript libraries to take Python dictionaries and lists and convert them into pretty plots. So those libraries are in the notes. So if you go to the notes, let me just open this out. And we got down to about here. Okay. So I don't want to have you guys type all this out, but you can just basically copy these two here and basically put that underneath the style. And then you can use that, select everything, tab it over to make it look nice. Indentation is required in Python. Get used to it. All right, so these libraries will import Python. So I can say here, I can just write import Python here. And then I can select this text and hit Control/, and it will comment it out for me. So I can comment my code. So Control/ will, or Command/ on the Mac will allow you to convert text into comments. And a comment is just some string that the browser will, or the thing that running your code will ignore. Okay. Then we also have Plotly, which we're going to be using to convert our Python dictionaries and lists into a pretty plot. So I'll import Plotly and selecting that, Control/, got my comments. And then finally, there's this one last one, which we're going to need to change because this last one is going to import the Python file that we're going to create. So I'm going to put here, import Python file that we created. Or that we, okay, that we will create, but by the time we create it, it's been created. Okay. So the thing in the SRC, well, the thing in the type right here is telling the browser to load the code in this format so that the browser knows this is Python. And then the second thing here is the URL where to go fetch the code. So what we're going to need to do is in your Explorer, I created a folder called DataViz. So I'm going to write DataViz here. And then I'm going to have to create app.py. So I'm going to go here, file, new file, app.py, create. Okay. And there we're good. All right. And I wish I had more than an hour. I would give you guys lots more exercises and things. So I know this is seeming more like me kind of showcasing everything, but it's just because we're a little short on time. So sorry about that. I really don't like to talk this much. All right, everyone, I'll give you guys about a minute to get that going. Give you guys time to catch up and ask any questions if you might have. So if you want to import Python files, do we always use these same websites? It depends on the Python file. If the Python library comes with a standard library of Python files, line 16 and 17. Oh, yes, yes. You always, these two files will allow you to use Python in the browser. So yes, Jami. Okay. All right. So I hope that was enough time for everyone to get caught up there. And now let's, we have like 30 minutes left, so we have enough time to do some coding now. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move over to my Python file, and I'm going to close. Actually, I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going to change this to, instead of, when I preview it, I don't want to see the Python code. I want to see the HTML file, because the HTML file is going to bring everything together. So if you change this to HTML, you would see the exact same thing you see over here. So that when we write code over here, we can see the output here. So again, I just want to change, and I change this to HTML. Whoops, the very end, because that's the file that puts everything together. Okay, so the HTML is like the master file, and it pulls in Python, it pulls in JavaScript, pulls in CSS, it pulls in everything, and makes the page. Okay. So oftentimes when you're coding, you want to have validation what you're doing is correct. So there's tools here in the browser to allow you to check to see what you're doing is correct. So if you're familiar with coding in like Jupyter Notebook, you would type something in a code block and you would hit run, and then there would be like an output block. Or if you're familiar with the the terminal, right? You would write some code and then there would be an output where you can validate quickly what you're writing. So in the web, there's a tool called DevTools, which you can access by just clicking here, right-clicking, and click Inspect. So if you're using Chrome, I think it just says Inspect. I'm using Firefox, so you see Inspect element, but it's just too much different. And it will bring up all these tools that look really intimidating and scary, but they're so powerful. You can actually go to any website. You can actually go to Discord and open up this panel. And if you get really good at understanding these tools, you can hack into the tool and make it better or learn more about how it works and then be able to copy what they created and build off of it. There's a lot of cool things you can do with this tool. But for now, we're just going to use it as a console. So we're just going to go over to this console tab. And you should see something like this with maybe some errors here, which we can just click this errors and get rid of if we wanted to. Or you can just show up. Don't worry about those errors. There's just always some websites and web apps are usually pretty chatty, especially web apps with all sorts of things going on. So that's why this garbage can is here, so you can delete it. On the Chrome, it's like a circle with a slash on it, like, don't know smoking kind of sign. But over here, what you can do now, just make sure everything's loaded. You can just write just in standard print hello. And then it will save, load. And where's my logs? I'll go over here. Warning, debug, print hello. All right, maybe I didn't do something right. Let me see. Dataviz, app.py. So it should come in here and print hello. I feel like I did something wrong, guys. Let me check something really quick. Oh, I think we might need to use these two things first. Okay, let me put these imports in here first. Let's see if that does anything. No. All right, I'm gonna try one other thing, guys. I'm gonna try it outside of here and see. Console. Doesn't seem like it's loaded the Python file. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Okay, sorry. There was this critical thing is when the body loads, when the page loads, we need to tell it to run the Python code. So here, I'll show you on the original one I created. There's this onload Python that I totally forgot about. So my bad. So go back to the HTML, add the onload Python. So this tells the browser to load the Python library into memory whenever the page loads. Okay. All right. Now, if I go like this and see if it's, I have to put a space here. I'm just going to hit, I just put a space in the middle so that I can trigger a resave. And now it says, hello. So now I know I have everything connected. So I'm glad I did that now before I wrote too much code. So I found an error and I fixed it. All right. So again, just add this onload Python. And then you should be able to start seeing things here. All right. It works for you now? All right. I'm glad to hear, Isabel. All right, cool. All right, so just like in a normal Python file, we start with our imports. And Python is just a subset of Python. In that Python link, there's another link you can go to. I can show you at the end where it shows you the ones that are available, but it's pretty much all the common, it's all the common ones. So you shouldn't have to worry about it. Now, if you wanted to do NumPy or OpenCV or some of these popular or TensorFlow, Python wouldn't have those, but there's JavaScript versions of those. So you would probably, if you wanted to do like machine learning in the browser, you would have to do that in JavaScript. But what you could do, you could do AI in the browser. It's really cool. Okay. Next, we're going to now, I kind of got scared there with my things going wrong the wrong way. So let me go back to my notes so I can get caught back up. So yeah, the very first thing we're going to do now is we're going to write Python code so that when you click that button, it will print whatever is in the in the input box. So that way we just verify that, okay, our button, we can make code happen when we click the button, and also we can get data from the user from the input box. Okay. So to do this, we need to give the code a way to find these elements. So you need to give it like an ID here. So I'm gonna put ID, I put URL. Just trying to do the same thing I did in the notes. Load. So now I kind of tagged these elements so that the code can find it. And here I can just do a button. I'll try BNT equals to document bracket, and I called it load. Okay. Right. And then I can do button dot bind click. So when you click the button, let's just call load. Let's create a function called load. So over here now it's giving me some errors and things like that because I'm typing. So basically saying load is not defined. So you can see here that this console is telling me when something bad is happening. So load is not defined. So let's load it in. Def load. Okay. And then I need to get the URL. So I go to document. This time I'm going to find URL from my document. So the document here is just a variable that contains all this data here. And it basically, it's like a giant dictionary where each element is a key value pair in that dictionary. Okay. So I'm just going to do print URL.value. No, I think in the notes I have this .value, and then I did URL. So this gets the whatever the user put into the box. So I'll put that in the comments here. Typed in, and again, I'm just comment over that, hit Control/, and I'll put a hashtag in front of it so that it's commented out. Okay, so now if I type something in here, hit load, it should give me that, but it gave me another error. Oh, it tells me now load takes 0 positional import argument, but more were given. Okay, so this is the difference between JavaScript and Python. JavaScript, it doesn't matter, but in Python you have to put in the E here to grab the event data, which we don't care about. We don't need it, so but we still have to write it. So now if I hit that, now I got quick go. I go like that. See, okay. So now I can build an app. I have a way to get data from the user, and I have the way, and the user has a way to send me that data. Cool, it works for you. All right. All right. Now, just following the notes. We just did this exercise. So now let's start loading real CSV data. So I started out at the top of the notes here, and I'll send it to you guys in the chat so you guys can see it. But basically, this is a URL to some data that Plotly provided. And if I go there, you can just see it's a basic CSV file with 3 columns, X, Y, and Z, that we're going to use to create that simple scatter, 3-dimensional scatter plot to see the clustering. Okay. So this is the data we're going to load. So the way we're going to do this is in the value, we want this to be the default. So in here, after ID, I can put value quotes that, but make sure it's inside these greater than and less than signs. All right, otherwise it's not going to work. But this is a way to give the input a default value so the user doesn't have to input anything. They can just hit that button. So, okay, where am I? Here we are. So I'm gonna hit a space here just so that I can refresh this screen. And there it is right there. All right. So now if I hit load, there it is. There's my URL that I want to load. All right. Give you guys a little time to catch up. So if you need to see that app.html again, there's that value. And then hit a space here inside the text to refresh the page. Okay. All right, so what's next? Now, okay, so next we're going to need to do is load that CSV file into memory. All right, so in Python, you can use CSV, or if you're familiar with Jupyter Notebook, you might use pandas to load the CSV into a data table. What we're going to do is load our CSV file into this Plotly, using this Plotly library. So what this Plotly tool is going to do, it's going to go fetch it and then create a dictionary out of it here. So basically, you can just copy these to see how this works. You just replace what we had there. Okay, saves, load. And then what you see there says no error, error is none. And then you can see here is a gigantic list of key value pairs. So basically what this is you don't see it here, but we could write code to see it. We can do like rows bracket 0 and hit load again. See it's object object. And then if you remember what the data looked like, it has this X here. So you can do bracket X like this to get the X value. Load. And then you can see here's that X value, that first one. Okay. So you can see it's just it's basically a list of these rows where each row is a dictionary, where this is the X, Y, and Z value of that dictionary. Okay. All right, so we're getting close to creating this plot now. Now that we have the data loaded, what I'm hoping to do, guys, is finish this up in like 5 minutes and then give you guys 10 minutes to really ask me questions, because I don't know what you guys are curious about, and I could have just taken this in any direction I wanted. So in the notes, okay. Basically what we're going to do now is unpack those rows. So basically have what we want is a list. We don't want a list. We want 3 variables. We want to have X, Y, and Z, where X is a list of all the X values, Y is a list of all the Y values, and Z is a list of all the Z values. So I created this unpack variable, which will just loop through all the rows and grab just the X or Y or Z value. So I'll show you that. So I created this function here. Okay. And now I'm going to print. Let's just print unpack. Let me just do this first. Let me do X column is equal to unpack. And I just pass in the rows, and I want X. And then I'm going to print X colon. Now if I load, there I got that first column. Okay. And so forth. So I give you guys a couple minutes to play with that. I'll just kind of finish it up here. And yeah, there's the Z column. Oh, okay, yeah, you can right click or open up. You can also, yeah, right click is the best way. Just hit inspect. There's also some hotkeys you can use. I think Control Shift I or Control Option I don't remember it. All right, then we have the 3 columns. And now Plotly, if I go to Plotly.js, let me just show you. And this is what, if you guys are interested in, exploring these data visualizations, what you would need to get good at is being able to go to one of these plotting libraries. Plotly is one of many. Find a plot you like. So I like to 3D charts. So you can build all these beautiful 3D charts. Click on it. And what I did is, this is the one I created. You can see it looks just like what I showed you, right? And it's basically a dictionary and list. So basically you can pretty much try to read this yourself, but basically what you can see here is, like in the layout, this is the height of it, the width of it, where you want the camera angle to be. So when you first load what you're looking at, what type of axes you want, and you can research all these things on this documentation. Plotly has a lot of great documentation. But basically what I did is I basically take this and I copied it over and converted it to Python. So one difference between dictionaries in Python and JavaScript is Python, your keys need to have quotes. So I just needed to add quotes to all my keys here. And I'll show you that in the notes. So you can see here's the quotes for everything. So let me just kind of copy all this and then you'll have a plot. Okay, this goes to CSV load callback. Oh, and it needs a place to put the plot. So visualization. I think we need to put in a div here. After our button, we can create a div element with the ID visualization. So now it has a place to put the plot. So that should work. And now load. It might take a little time. Why isn't it working? Load. Oh, there it goes. Okay. And there we have our plot. Just took a little time for me. And then you can use your mouse and zoom in. Plotly gives you all these tools to explore the data with. You do turntable rotation, reset the camera. You can do all these cool things. But there you go. You got your visualization. And that's how you would use Qoom to show your visualization in HTML and CSS so that you have complete control of how the user experience is. All right. So yeah, I ended at 10 minutes before we end. So I really wanted to open up to you guys. You have 10 minutes of my time. So if you want to know how to do something, please ask me and I can give you some private instruction here. If you don't have any things, I can show you a couple of things, I guess. One thing I didn't show you is you can click this QR code and then take a picture of it. And then on your phone, you can, if you want to build a mobile application that people can use to explore your data, you can, just take a picture of it. And it's a little slow. My internet's slow. I don't know why it's so slow, but then you can, I wish I could show you. Okay, there it goes. And there I have it on my screen. I don't know if you guys see it or not, but I can play with the data. Can't really see it. It's too bright, isn't it? There you go. See it? And then you can play with it. See? Play with it on your phone. So to make it look good on mobile, right now on mobile, if you do it, everything looks really small and tiny because your pixel size is so good on the phone. I had a step in the notes to get around that issue. It's a common thing to do. You just have to tell the browser the size of a pixel. So here, I have this meta thing here. I can give you guys. Can I go ahead and custom? Yes, you can customize the 3D models, and I can show you that. I'll show you that next. So here I can just put here like this, and then everything will look good on the mobile. It wouldn't look small. So to customize the 3D model, well, one thing we can do is we can play with something here. So maybe what we do is change the color of the marker. So let's make it a different color. Let me just make that 0 instead. Load. See, now I have green markers. Let's say you wanted to play with the data. Well, what you can do is you can copy this data, just Command A, Command C, go over to Qoom, create a new file called, data.csv. So I'm just kind of uploading the data. You can also download and upload too. Put my data there. And then over here, I'm going to change this now to dataviz.data.csv. Okay. So I'm over here now. And now I can put in I can put an outlier here. So maybe I should put in -15. Okay. So I'm manipulating my data, which isn't good, but bad people do that type of thing. And I hit a space, you refresh this, load. And I manipulated my data. See, there's my outlier right there. So I can put an outlier. Okay. So now you have a way to if you're doing something on a Jupyter notebook or some other tool to collect your data, you can just copy and paste the data here. Make a little cool web app for people to explore that data and add to whatever you're trying to do. All right, any other questions? Could you explain def load E, the E part? Sure. Okay, so that's down here. So it's not down below. Okay. And the other thing with our editor, you can click these 3 bars and there's a settings thing here, and then you can change things in here. So I'm going to make my font a little bigger. So I'll make it 24 pixels. And this E part. So what it is when you click a button in HTML. So I click this button. Information about what I clicked and where I clicked it gets stored in this E variable. So if I, for example, wanted to do something different, if I let's say I click the left side of the button versus the right side of the button, and I wanted to do something different on the left-hand side of the button than the right-hand side, I could use that E variable to say, oh, I clicked on the left side of the button, so do something different than clicking on the right-hand side. So I can create an if statement. Hope that makes sense. Oh, okay. So you downloaded the data as a CSV folder, then loaded the CSV folder into your. Actually, what I did is I copied the CSV data. I just kind of copied it all. But you could also downloaded it too. So but I really just copied it and I created a new file. I didn't create a new folder. I just went here, new file, and put it here. There's something called alpha hole in the Python code. Okay, let's see what that is. See what you're talking about. Ah, okay. So my thinking is this is data here, so it's showing an X, Y, Z, and then do you see the pink thing? Kind of like the hole, I believe, is the shape that is encasing all the points. So my bet is this alpha hole is showing the transparency behind it. So if I put 100 here, I don't know what will happen. Let's just see my experiment is right. I think it's going to affect the gray, that peach area. Yeah, it's totally gone now. It's probably completely transparent. So I got rid of it. Oh, opacity is that. Okay, never mind. Let's try 5. I don't know what alpha hole is. Let's see. Let's kind of figure that out. So maybe we search here, alpha hole. Here we go. How the mesh for triangles are derived from the set of vertices. So here's alpha hole, Isabel. So it's to me, it's how smooth you're creating that mesh. So a mesh is just a 3D representation of a surface. And what it's doing is it's putting those surface, creating the surface into a series of triangles. So it's seeing how those triangles are created to create that surface. So if I did 5, we can see maybe a better, see if something happens. Yeah, now 5, you see everything's now connected with 5. So it's like how connectivity it looks like. So if I put in 1, I bet it's going to be like a shape that's more like including all the points. Yeah. So now it's just like basically a giant parallel or prism, giant prism. Or if I did 20, I bet then it's going to be has smaller and smaller clusters. So maybe it's like figuring how many clusters there are. That might be a better way of putting it. Yeah, with 20 now there's a lot of smaller clusters. So that's what it is. It's like how many clusters you want. Okay. I have a lot more questions here. Yes, I use the link of the CSV file in Qoom. So that way I can manipulate my data in Qoom. I could actually write Python code to change this data if I needed to. But yeah, basically I'm hosting my data on Qoom. All right. And just in case it got lost in the chat, how can you create a simulator using Java in Qoom? So Java right now isn't supported in Qoom. Java is pretty much a backend programming language that requires compiling. And Qoom really is a tool for more like Python and JavaScript, which is script-based, which is not where you don't need to compile the code. So you can instantaneously see your changes. So I would, if you wanted to create a simulator, you would probably want to use JavaScript in Qoom. And the backend of Qoom is all Node.js. It's all JavaScript with Express framework. We also are in the process of creating a Python interpreter for the backend as well. And then the simulator part, again, just JavaScript, you can create simulations all in the browser. You don't need to do any backend coding for simulations. And kind of show you, maybe I can just write JavaScript simulations. So yeah, it looks like here's some, oh wait, this is requiring you to have money. But you can do all sorts of simulation in JavaScript. You just got to know the language pretty well to do it. There's nothing stopping you to do it. Oh, in what ways? JavaScript, you don't compile. Java is also is object oriented, meaning you need to use something called classes and inheritance. If you're familiar with that, where JavaScript, it's an option. You can do it. Yes, you can develop a simulation in Python too. In Java, yeah. The thing about the simulation, you want a UI. And the great thing about JavaScript is you have the browser. You can use HTML and CSS to create your simulation UI. So that's why I like JavaScript the best, because it's the framework to build the UI can't be beat in Java or in Python. It's very clunky in Python and Java, the UI frameworks. Just also show you something you can do in the browser. You can do 3D. Let's see, A-frame. Show you this here. This is a virtual reality framework, which has, a lot of simulations are done in virtual reality. And you can click here and kind of see some cool 3D stuff in A-frame. The other cool thing to do there's another language, C# with Unity. That's another really cool language to use for simulation. And Qoom does support Unity creations, that you can upload Unity creations onto Qoom, so you can share your Unity simulations on the web. So yeah, if you've heard of that, that might be the best thing to use, because I think that's really what's really been popular by most people nowadays. Okay. All right, I think it's 4 o'clock now. I really enjoyed showing you all that, and we'll be on Qoom. So we'll be on Discord, I mean. So if you have any questions, please ask him, and we're here to help. All right. Have fun on the hackathon. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys create.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you so much for giving this webinar. It was really interesting.
You're welcome, William.